Hey guys, this is Samantha Sufyan. So a few days ago, I had asked you, what you're struggling with, what some of the roadblocks that you are coming across in your weight loss or fitness journey, and I am going to be answering all of those questions today. So I took a top 3. I'll dive into a few others that I saw more common questions towards, but I'm just going to take the top 3. So sorry for those of you that asked a few questions that I might not be getting into today. But a big one, and I'm sure this is no surprise, is weight loss. Weight loss in terms of the belly area. So how do you actually lose fat from your belly area? I mean, this is a common question that everyone is asking and everyone seems to be struggling with. So there is not going to be one clear-cut answer, but what I will do is I will break my answer up into different parts that you can, utilize on your own and try these out. So the big method of my training is always to take one habit at a time. So when I go over these steps in just a few moments, I want you to take whatever the one is that you're struggling with most and really work on that. To start with, one of the first steps for weight loss and belly fat loss is going to, of course, be nutrition. So since nutrition is a huge category, I'm going to break it up into just a few simple steps that will really yield results if you abide by these. If you have not heard of your macros before, macros are your carbs, proteins, and fats. With your macros, this should be designed specifically for you. And I don't mean just getting, an estimate off of MyFitnessPal or any of those other apps. Yes, I use those apps, but I do not use the macros that are given because they're just random, arbitrary numbers thrown out of the air. You want macros that are actually designed for you, for your goals, for your body type. So protein is going to be a very, very big component of your fat loss and your weight loss. Now, I can't stress this enough. This is all based on your exercise. So I'm just going to assume that all of you are exercising at least 3 times a week. I think that's fair. And when I say workout, I mean resistance training. If you are working out 3 times a week, you want to be having your goal body weight in grams of protein a day. So if you weigh 150 pounds, you're gonna have 150 grams a day of protein. If you weigh 250 pounds and you wanna get down to 160, you are going to have 160 grams of protein a day. And when you're actually maintaining more muscle, your body is naturally burning more fat. So that is a huge step in the right direction to first make sure you're having enough protein throughout the day. Also, and this might seem a little bit like grade school, but eating enough vegetables. Vegetables are really, really important for your digestive system, for fat loss, because they have a lot of natural fiber in it. So what you want to do is aim for about 6 servings of vegetables a day. And if you don't know what a serving is, you could use your fist as a guide. Okay, so 6 fists of vegetables a day. Now, some of you may be watching this right now as your jaw drops to the floor, but yes, you want to be having 6 servings of vegetables a day. That is drastically going to help your fat loss and your weight loss efforts. Or my next step towards belly fat loss is going to be utilizing your core in every single movement that you do. If you've been watching me on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, you've been seeing a bunch of my videos where I utilize the abs and I refer to it as tilting the pelvis. So you can engage your abs. If you lay on the floor, you can engage your abs by bringing your lower back completely against the floor. So you should start to feel tension build up in the abs. Now, that simple movement is something that you utilize during every single exercise that you're doing. Whether it's a squat, whether it's a deadlift, whether it's a bicep curl, you should always be utilizing your core. And of course, if you're not, and I see this in the gym all the time, if you're not properly activating your abs in a squat or deadlift specifically, you are going to be putting pressure on the back. So if you are finding yourself that, when I squat or when I deadlift, I feel some back pain or whatever else is going on, that's indicative that you are probably not utilizing the core as well as you could. So that is a huge, huge factor in actually strengthening and losing fat from the belly area, is actually using your core muscles. Another factor in losing the belly fat area or toning up your midsection area is going to be actually utilizing your ab exercises. I disapprove of crunches and any type of exercise like that, because most of the time those aesthetic ab exercises are not really doing anything for your core. If you do have more fat in that area, you're not going to see abs through the fat. That's just a fact. So what you need to work on is actually building the core stability first and then working on the aesthetic. So if you do look at my page, you'll see demonstrations on how to do the planks properly, how to do things like dead bug and bird dog. Those are really, really good core stability exercises. And then I'll funk it up a little bit and, add a little bit of a twist and add a little bit more of a intensity to it. Start with the basics. There's nothing to be ashamed of with starting with a basic plank and a basic dead bug. You're gonna get a lot more out of that, and you're going to really see more benefits and be able to strengthen the stability of your core as opposed to just crunching, feeling lower back pain, and you might be feeling that burn in your abs, but you're not doing anything as far as actually losing the fat there. So for that, what I would recommend is utilizing your core exercises, your ab exercises, for at least 3 times a week. Now, I am going to be completely honest with you. I don't like doing ab work. It's miserable. I can't stand it, honestly. So what I started to do was do it right in the beginning of my exercise, given that I'm not doing anything like heavy squats or heavy deadlifts, just because I know that at the end of my workout, I am not gonna wanna do abs. So I do it in the beginning as a core warm up and whatnot, and that really helps me stay consistent with my ab work. So that's a great tip. What I would recommend is starting off with a few basics, starting off with plank, starting off with dead bug, starting off with bird dog, or a shoulder plank. So I hope that tip helps. Last but not least, and this is a factor, or these 2 factors, tend to be something that are much harder to control. So I recommend starting with the nutrition first, because that is the easiest to control. And then you could work on what I'm about to go into next. So your cortisol levels play a huge role in belly fat gain. Now, cortisol is activated by stress levels. So I don't need to sit here and tell you how stressed you are. I mean, if you're, a mom, or if you're a CEO or every day in the life person, we're gonna deal with some stress. So, it's inevitable that we are going to have stress. Now, the point is that how are we actually dealing with that stress? That is going to be a huge pivotal factor or a huge pivotal point in our success. So if we are consistently letting ourselves get even more stressed out, we're only doing ourselves harm, raising our cortisol levels, and that is going to increase our belly fat. So what I like to do is when I get a little stressed is go into some crocodile breathing. And again, you can find that on my page. But basically what that's going to do is you're going to be laying on your belly, and your hands are going to be on the floor, and your forehead is going to be resting on your hands, and you're going to take slow, deep breaths. And you want to think about pushing your body away, or pushing yourself away with your belly, and that'll be your inhale. So you're actually breathing through the diaphragm and not breathing through the chest. When we're breathing through the chest, we're putting ourselves in more of a sympathetic state, which means we're constantly in that fight or flight, which means that we're raising our cortisol levels and our stress levels and all of that not so good stuff. What you need to do is really start to breathe through the belly and sit there for about 5 minutes. That's it. And you'll notice once you get up, you're much more relaxed, and you could go about your day or solve whatever problem or situation that you need to with a clear head, and you'll feel more at rest. So that's what I really recommend to help your stress levels and your cortisol levels. Sleep is going to be a huge factor in losing weight and losing body fat. Now, some of us, like I said, this one's a little harder to control for some of us because we are stressed, because we're not eating properly. So that's why I like to say, go over the nutrition, the tips that I've given you for nutrition, and usually that tends to naturally fix your sleeping patterns. Because you're eating with a more nutritious or nutrient-dense diet, that's going to really help, put you at a more restful state for your sleep. So you're actually getting into a deep rest, and you're recovering and regenerating and regrowing the muscle tissue, which is everything that we need to do while we're sleeping. So if you work on the beginning stages of what I went over, that should help the sleep. But sleep does have a huge role in your weight loss. Okay, so the next step would be proper cardio. and exercise for that matter. I know that's super vague, but I'm going to try to, condense that a little bit. So a lot of times people think that when they're, working their butts off on the treadmill, or they're running as fast as they can, and, they're going to all these HIIT classes and boot camp classes, and they wonder why they haven't, lost any body fat than when they originally started. So a tip for your cardio is to break it up into light, moderate, and high intensity days. And that is a huge, huge pivotal point for most people, because we live in a society right now where, we're being given all of this false information on media, where if it's not all out, it's nothing and it's a waste of your time. That's not the case at all. It's really about building consistency. So what I would start my clients with is a comfortable pace that they feel good with, starting at 1.0% incline. Then every 2 minutes, I would increase to 3%, 7%, 9%, and that would be a 10-minute warm-up for them. They'll rest for about 2 minutes, and for a low intensity day, it should feel like they're working, or it should feel like you're working, but not to a point where you are dying. That is not the way to get results. You're actually doing yourself a little bit more harm than good if this is the only way that you train. So a light intensity should feel, alternating between two different speeds, or I should say, if it's incline, two different inclines at the same speed, so that you are going into a lighter intensity load for maybe about 4 minutes, and then taking it into a higher intensity for about 2 minutes, and going on and off with that for a duration of 30 minutes in total for your workout. You really don't need to be spending hours or even 45 minutes to an hour on cardio. If you're doing an efficient 30 minutes, that's all you need. And then use the same principle for your high intensity and moderate intensity day. So your high intensity day, do your 10-minute warm up like we just went over, and then start to incorporate that high speed or incline that you could only really withstand for about 1 minute, and then take it into a recovery for 2 minutes where you feel like you're catching your breath, and then go back into it. Again, repeat that for a duration of 30 minutes for the entire exercise, including the warm-up. That will really help. And do the same for the moderate. Okay, so the next biggest struggle that you guys said you were having was building muscle. Now, building muscle is pretty tough if you're not a newbie. If you just, entered the gym and you're in your first 3 months, you're going to be building muscle like crazy, and that's what we call newbie gains. So after that phase where you're like, but I'm doing everything that I did in the beginning and I'm still not building muscle has a lot to do with the nutritional aspect. So again, utilizing what we went over before with weight loss, you definitely want to be having at least your body weight in protein per day. Now, depending on who you are, and I can't say this for everybody, but it can very well go up to, about 1.2 grams times your, per pound of body. So protein is going to be a huge aspect of your muscle gain. Now, eating enough carbs as well is going to be huge. So nutrition plays a fantastic role in muscle gain. So having your starchy carbs, now healthy starchy carbs, that would consist of lentils, beans, oats, rice. That is a fantastic way to get that nutrient into the muscle cells to start actually building that muscle tissue, and you'll really start to see results that way. So a huge reason why people are not building muscle or gaining muscle is because they're not eating enough. You physically can't gain muscle if you're not eating enough. So carbs are not the enemy. As much as what the media is saying right now, carbs is not the enemy. Carbs is actually going to help promote more muscle gain. Of course, of the right types of carbs and of the right amount. So building muscle highly revolves around eating enough. You gotta eat enough. So don't be scared of carbs. Don't be scared of protein.